All right, so yeah, this is the lens that I've been shooting with for a while now. It's my 100 to 400 millimeter lens. I do like the flexibility of this thing. The reason I say that is because today, for example, I was taking a photo of this little guy up on a tree. Beautiful black bird, but I was shooting the whole time with this thing, okay? And this is the 800 millimeter f11 lens. And it is a nice lens for what it is, right? But there is a kind of, I find myself mostly using this lens, the 100 to 400, for wildlife photography, that is, because that's basically all I do is wildlife photography. I have started doing some people photography, but you know, that's a slow process. Anyway, the reason why I say that I find myself mostly using this lens is not because this thing here is not capable. It's not that. It is the flexibility of being able to do this. Zoom on your subject. I was taking a photo of that blackbird that I told you about earlier, and I was using this lens here, the 800 millimeter, and I was just looking for it and looking for it and looking for it, because you know, you only get one zoom and you're stuck there at 800 millimeters. And it's like finding a needle in a haystack. The bird is maybe 15 meters away from me. It's not that far, maybe 10 meters away from me. And I am, you know, he's just standing there on the branch, and I'm looking for it, looking for it. And finally, I got some good shots, as you can see there, as you saw there on the photos. But if I would have had this thing out instead, I would have just started at 100. I would have found the bird in my, you know, viewfinder right away, and then I would have zoomed in on it and take some pictures. So that is one thing, you know, the disadvantage or advantage that it is that I have with this lens versus the 800. The other advantage with this lens, it's how small it is. Okay, let's compare both of these things. And as you can see, it's like David and Goliath. I mean, these things are both huge. Well, this is a huge lens. This is not a huge lens. But the weight of this thing versus this thing here, having this on my camera and having to go like this most of the time, you know, holding, it's like you're holding a machine gun or an RPG or something. So you're holding your camera here and you're having to hold your lens, you know. And mind you, this is not extended. Now it's, now your center of gravity, now you become what I call that top heavy, front heavy, okay? So this thing is just, you know, gravity wants to do this, so you gotta give it some support. I mostly don't use the tripod because I find it to be kind of, I don't know, I like to be able to, you know, freely move my lens around and not be stuck to a tripod. So that's why I don't use a tripod most of the time. So that's another thing. Another reason why I love the 100 to 400 millimeter lens. Now, another thing about this thing too is that when you put this little lens on a crop sensor camera like the R100, R50, R10, or R7 from Canon, this essentially becomes the max zoom range on this. It's at 640 millimeter. Also, it affects your aperture, but you know what? At 640 millimeters, who cares? Really, it won't really matter. You can still get some creamy, shallow depth of field, even, you know, at 640 millimeters at f8, which is also affected by the 1.4 crop factor. What is that anyway? Let's see, f8. So that becomes, that f8 becomes effectively 12.8. So when you slap this on a crop sensor camera, it becomes when you zoom in and you're a max, 12.8, f12.8. So at f12.8, this f11 here starts to look pretty good, considering the depth of field. But one thing that needs to be made clear is that even at that f12.8, it does not affect the amount of lighting that enters the sensor that you're collecting. You're still getting f8 amount of lighting. It's just your depth of field that is affected. So instead of f8, you're at f12.8, depth of field. So then I think that needs to be said, because that's one thing that I also struggled to understand, and I couldn't find it anywhere until I actually talked to Sigma, and Sigma broke that down for me in a way that dumb person like me could understand it. So it just affects your depth of field, but it does not affect your the amount of light that is hitting your sensor. You're still getting whatever your lens says. If it's a 1.4, f.4, that's how much lighting you're getting into your sensor. So yeah, so this is why I adore this little lens here, the 100 to 400 millimeter. If you are thinking about pulling the trigger on this thing here, either for full frame or crop sensor camera, I can highly recommend it, especially if you want to go out and take some nature photography. You can do that. I will also post the link of this lens hood. I got this from AliExpress, and you can install it so backwards like this to make room in your bag, as you can see here, and it works perfectly fine. And it's got this click here, so it's like a locking mechanism. So if you don't depress this is not turning anywhere. So it's the ET what is it, ET74P. So yeah, I'll put a link on AliExpress where you can get this. It is fairly good quality. I have bumped into many things with this lens hood and no cracks, nothing. So it does the job. Canon, you are crazy for selling these things. They want like $40 or $60 for a piece of plastic. That's crazy, man. I don't understand their logic. I got this for like, what was it, $15 or something like that, the equivalent here in Norway of $15. So yeah, so that's my thing about my about the 100 to 400. That's why I love this lens. It's just that ability to find your subject at 100 millimeter and then zoom in to 400. That makes a big difference when it comes to photography. And this is why I think a lot of the professionals out there that do photography, wildlife photography for a living, I do it as a hobby, but these people are using zoom lenses, and now I see why the majority of them, are, at least that I know of, are using zoom lenses, because they want to find it's easier to find your subject, versus you are with the 800 millimeter, you're already zoomed in at 800 millimeter, and good luck trying to find that thing, whatever it is that you're looking for in branches or between some leaves or whatever. It can be challenging. Of course, it can be done. It's just I got to take your time. But birds are not there for you. They're not your client. So at any second, they could just poof disappear. And so by the time you find the spot, the bird is already gone. So that's the disadvantage with a lens this big. And it goes also for the 600 millimeter for for this. The same concept, the same idea, and that's why instead of buying the 600 millimeter, the little brother of the 800 millimeter, instead of buying that, I just stuck to this here, because my ability to find my subject easier. So yeah, that's it. So I just wanted to share some photography there that you can attain with this little lens, and it's fantastic. I highly recommend this if you're wanting to get into wildlife photography on a crop sensor camera or a full frame camera. That little lens, you can't you can't go wrong with this little lens. Not to mention that it is image stabilized. You know, it has a lock here, so it doesn't just creep on you. So you can just lock it and it doesn't go anywhere. If you unlock it though, you know, that's when you're able to extend it. But if you, again, if you lock it, it's there. It's not going to creep on you. It's not going anywhere. So yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. Just that 100 to 400 millimeter lens and how it's been treating me. That's one thing that I wanted to get out of the way. The differences between the two lenses. Disadvantage for the 800 is just, you know, starting zoomed in, that trying to find your subject at 800 millimeter. Yeah, that's a challenge. But you can also take some beautiful photos, and I'll post some on the screen for you, so you can see what 800 millimeters at f11 on a beautiful day outside looks like. You can take some spectacular photos. And all those photos that I take with the 800 millimeter, those photos are taken on the Canon R8. And when I use the 100 to 400, I use the R10, which is the camera that I am filming on right now. So yeah guys, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.